Picture the blistering horror of molten gold, bubbling and hissing down your gaping throat. Under Mesopotamia's unrelenting sun in 53 BC, the air choked with the coppery tang of blood-drenched dust, the agonized screams of 20,000 dying legionaries, and the panicked whinnies of horses riddled with arrows, vultures spiraling lazily like inexorable fate above the vast carnage of Carrhae. Marcus Licinius Crassus, history's wealthiest mortal, his personal coffers swollen to dwarf even modern titans, like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, equaling perhaps $20 trillion in today's coin, kneels utterly defeated before sneering Parthian cataphracts, his once pristine consular toga shredded, filth-caked, and sweat-soaked, his eyes bulging wide with the shattering dawning truth that no horde of sesterces, no private army, no web of villas and mines can ransom him from this final, yawning abyss. They cleave his head with savage, ritual precision, using a heavy Achanake's blade, pour the searing, bubbling gold into the gaping maw, to eternally taunt his legendary all-consuming avarice, stuff barley into the severed neck, like a lowly beast's feed muzzle, hoist the grotesque trophy on a pike, and gallop it triumphantly before his routed, demoralized legions, as his young son Publius's own severed head tumbles mockingly in the dirt nearby. Crassus, Triumvir, standing equal to Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great, Rome's undisputed financial titan, long scorned as mere moneylender and fire insurer, reduced to barbaric carrion theatre for the amusement of Eastern horse archers. Was this the inexorable, God's-ordained toll exacted by unchecked greed on overreaching ambition, or Fortuna's most savage, poetic irony punishing the hubris of a man who thought gold could buy immortality? Join me for this deeply immersive 40-minute narrative voyage from the chaotic slave markets of Capua to the slaughter sands of Carrhae, meticulously unraveling the intoxicating, envy-fueled ascent and catastrophic, hubris-shattered descent of the richest man who ever walked the earth. A timeless saga, throbbing with burning envy toward rivals, creeping dread of obscurity, vainglorious delusion of Alexander-like glory, desperate glory-seeking in foreign sands, and the ultimate hollow, mocking echo of gold melting into worthless slag amid the vulture's triumphant feast. If Crassus's gruesome, gold-melted horse-mock finale grips your soul with its brutal poetic justice and sends shivers of recognition through tales of ambition gone awry, drop a thoughtful comment below right now sharing your thoughts. Where do you settle in comfortably for this epic tale? Tonight, a supple leather armchair in snowy Michigan, with hearth flames crackling like the pyres of Colline Gate. A shaded veranda in humid Georgia, where magnolias sway languidly like palatine fronds in a triumph procession. A starlit deck in vast Montana, mirroring Rome's vaulted night skies, pregnant with boundless ambitions. Or somewhere the quiet evening hush recalls the tense whispers of ancient forum conspiracies under moonlit arches. Share your state, a personal memory of greed's bite, or a rival you outshone. Hit that bright red subscribe button and ring the golden bell so these vivid, emotionally charged historical epics land faithfully in your feed every single week without fail, pulling you deeper into eras where fortune's fierce, capricious wheel turns titans to dust in an instant. Let us wander slowly and deeply into the turbulent, blood-soaked heart of the late Roman Republic, that sprawling, fractious empire, perpetually teetering on the razor edge of cataclysmic civil war, where chained, despairing Gauls toiled endlessly in lightless silver mines under the endless crack of overseers' whips. Optimates diced entire provinces like loaded dice in smoky tabernae backrooms, and the sacred Tiber often ran red with factional blood under every blood moon, staining the very foundations of power. The Eternal City, in the turbulent 110 seconds BC, bestrides its fabled 7 hills like a colossus, fashioned by wrathful gods astride the entire Mediterranean world, its grand forums perpetually alive with the ceaseless, raucous shout of auctioneers hawking fresh war captives from distant Gaul, and the boastful, ale-fueled tales of grizzled legionaries returned from brutal campaigns in Hispania or Thrace. Massive aqueducts thunder ceaselessly, with crystal-clear mountain waters, feeding the vast public thermae complexes, where steam rises languidly, like prophetic vapors, from mineral-rich pools, scented with olive oil and rose petals. Temples stand eternally pristine under swirling veils of thick sacrificial smoke curling heavenward in supplication, their gleaming marble altars perpetually slick with the warm, steaming gore of oxen throats, ritually slit in dawn ceremonies, and the dark, viscous spill of libation wine poured copiously for Jupiter Optimus Maximus's fickle favor. Yet, deep, spidering fissures vein this imposing marble facade like cracks in a facade of power. Plebeian uprisings erupt violently over scarce, mouldy grain doles that arrive perpetually short-weight amid Tiber floods. Patrician mega-villas voraciously devour generations-old, small family farms through crushing usury rates that turn independent freeholders into perpetual debt-bound coloni, little better than slaves, while hordes of slaves from Thrace, Hispania, Dacia, and even far Parthia labor in ceaseless clanking chains that echo like distant, ominous thunder across the forum's chaotic din, day and night. Superstition coils, serpent-like through the overcrowded, festering slums of the Subura haruspices with hands perpetually bloodied, slit open, still quivering ovine, viscera to divine grim omens of looming strife between populist Marius and aristocratic Sulla. Shadowy astrologers, huddled in dimly lit booths, murmur portentously of Saturn's malefic aspect, poisoning the Republic's very stars with civil discord. Vast, sprawling latifundia estates fetter Italy's once fertile countrysides in invisible chains, coloni lashed like medieval serfs to the unyielding soil by overseers' merciless scourges of braided leather, their sun-baked backs bent double in back-breaking eternal harvest toil, funneling endless grain, wine, and olive oil to absentee patrician lords who gorge nightly on thrushes, drowned in sweet Falernian wine, and peacock tongues spiced with exotic eastern imports, while the workers subsist on chaff-filled husks and brackish Tiber water. Into this restless, churning, blood-pulsing heart of a fracturing empire strides Marcus Licinius Crassus, circa 115 BC, scion of a once mighty, but now tragically decayed patrician line whose father, a respected consul in brighter republican days, falls horrifying victim to Gaius Marius's brutal proscriptions and is compelled to plunge a dagger into his own throat in ritual suicide, as Lucius Cornelius Sulla's vengeance sweeps through Rome like a biblical locust plague, devouring every green field of opposition in its path. Young Marcus, barely 20 years old, and utterly stripped of his rightful inheritance to villas and gold plate, flees desperately south with the Optimates faction, his family name forever branded traitor amid the hate-filled baying mobs of the Forum Romanum. Envision him vividly amid the raw chaos of 87 BC at the teeming slave bazaars of Capua. Despairing, battle-broken Gauls, and fierce Spartacus-like Thracians offered up at absolute fire-sale bargain prices, their eyes hollow as open grave sockets from recent catastrophic defeats in the arena of war, heavy iron manacles rattling discordantly like funeral bells, as Crassus purchases these hundreds en masse and marches them relentlessly to makeshift training camps hidden in the rolling Campanian hills. These raw gladiators and unpolished legionaries become the red-hot anvil upon which he hammers out his very first fortune. He personally leads them to shatter the entrenched Marian forces at the pivotal Battle of the Colline Gate, just outside Rome's walls, earning the victorious Sulla's lavish, overflowing reward of confiscated enemy villas, brimming with looted plate gold, amphorae of the finest aged wines, and hordes of highly skilled household slaves ready for immediate redeployment into Crassus's burgeoning private enterprises. Crassus's true, diabolical genius blooms not on the bloodied battlefield of swords, but in the fertile, sun-baked soil of unbridled avarice, an unholy alchemy that transmutes base human desperation into endless rivers of glittering aureate wealth flowing directly into his vaults. He masters the shadowy, predatory dark art of speculative arson amid Rome's notoriously tinderbox slums of closely packed wooden tenements, when uncontrollable infernos erupt suddenly in the densely packed Subura, his private fire brigade of specially trained slaves, armed with vinegar-filled leather buckets, long iron hooks for pulling down burning roofs, and primitive hoses arrives, not to save lives or property, but to ruthlessly negotiate, deliberately allowing flames to rage until panicked, terrified owners sell their properties dirt cheap in sheer animal panic, only then extinguishing the blazes with practiced efficiency. Rebuilt as soaring, multi-story insulae apartment blocks towering defiantly over the narrow, twisting streets below. These monstrosities are immediately rented back out to the desperate, fire-traumatized plebs at sky-high usurious rates that swell Crassus's coffers like the Tiber in flood, rising like profane ziggurats dedicated to greed across the entire cityscape. Hispania's labyrinthine silver mines disgorge endless, gleaming veins worked mercilessly by chained Hispani convicts whose hacking coughs echo hauntingly through narrow, torch-flickering shafts until their lungs blacken irreparably with metallic dust, and they collapse lifeless into nameless, forgotten pits to be replaced by the next wave. He ruthlessly corners Mediterranean grain futures during inevitable shortages caused by pirate blockades or poor harvests, amassing colossal silos bursting at the seams with cestacees that in turn fund ever larger, terrifyingly loyal private armies, beholden solely to his bottomless purse strings. By 70 BC, electrifying whispers ripple through the forum like uncontained wildfire through dry thatch. Crassus now claims outright ownership of fully 1/3 of Rome itself, every other private domus, every grand public thermae complex, every bustling warehouse along the Tiber's busy wharves bears his invisible, omnipresent brand of absolute dominion. Rival senators cast sidelong, envious eyes on his luxurious stables of lightning-swift Numidian stallions that outpace even Pompey Magnus's famed mounts, his professional kitchens covertly pilfering the most exotic peacock tongue recipes from Marcus Lucullus's legendary banquet tables. Yet such stratospheric wealth inevitably breeds a creeping, poisonous isolation. Dinner guests now openly appraise his ornate silver goblets as future collateral for personal loans from the master moneylender. Beautiful paramours deride his legendary parsimony, even as he drapes them in shimmering, exorbitantly priced Tyrian purple imported directly from Phoenician looms at ruinous cost. The true antagonist crystallizes vividly, first in Crassus's own darkly mirrored arrogance, the suffocating Roman aristocracy's haughty, inbred entitlement made flesh, and later manifests in the lethal eastern shadows of Parthian king Orodes II, whose horse archer hordes expose the fatal, yawning void at the heart of unchecked avarice. Crassus mounts the sacred rostra in his consular purple-bordered toga like a conquering deity, his immense fortune loudly proclaimed as Fortuna's own personal fiat and divine mandate, his ancient bloodlines tracing unbroken back to the regal Licini consuls of Rome's mythic antiquity. Arrogance forms his impenetrable, ironclad bulwark against the world. Household slaves lashed to raw, hanging ribbons of flesh for the single spilled drop of prized Falernian wine at dinner. Insolvent debtors, publicly crucified on the very gates of his suburban villas as grotesque, rotting warnings to all others who might falter in repayment. Disloyal stewards summarily gelded on mere suspicion of embezzlement, with red-hot irons sealing the screaming wound as example. Public auctions become his personal exhilaration. Estates of freshly proscribed political enemies hammered down for insultingly low pennies on the sestertius, while their weeping widows are reduced to beggary in Rome's filthy streets. All this amid his nightly feasts of dormice, swimming luxuriously in rivers of honey and spiced peacock tongues imported from the edges of the known world. To Crassus, the teeming plebs rank as little more than livestock fit for herding. Riots among the grain-starved masses quelled brutally by his private clientelar cohort, wielding heavy clubs, sharpened spears, and even caltrops. Grain supplies deliberately withheld from public markets until the desperate urban poor kneel in abject, humiliating supplication before his calculated largesse. Superstitions faithfully abet his rapacious empire. A personal haruspex perpetually reading sheep entrails for auspicious timings on massive investments, nocturnal dreams meticulously interpreted to dictate which slave auctions to utterly dominate. Crassus scoffs openly at critics. This is Fortuna's immutable, cosmic ladder of success, with sniveling indigents eternally consigned far below exalted plutocrats by irrevocable divine ordinance. The fateful ignition of catastrophe sparks subtly, yet inevitably, in the lush, fountain-dotted gardens of Marcus Lucullus in 60 BC. Crassus, playing lavish host to his great rivals Pompey Magnus and Gaius Julius Caesar, amid tinkling naiad fountains that sound like falling silver coins, soft lyre girls lilting haunting melodies over amphorae of premium Falernian wine, cascading generously from snow-chilled mountain imports. The seemingly convivial dinner ambushes Crassus with calculated subtlety. Pompey's recent spectacular Mithridatic triumphs in the East are declaimed at length with theatrical fanfare to gasps of admiration. Caesar's latest dispatches from the Gallic frontier read aloud verbatim to murmurs of awe at his conquests. Crassus, ever the silver-tongued orator masking inner rage, floats the clandestine First Triumvirate pact to secretly carve up the entire republic among the three. Yet, the mockery lances deep into his pride. Pompey quips with a knowing laugh amid the guests. Crassus's legions are expert at quenching raging conflagrations in the Subra slums, not conquering fierce Parthians on open plains. The humiliation spreads insidiously communal, as guests titter behind raised wine cups. Crassus's aristocratic face flushes deep crimson beneath his civic laurel wreath, but his steel-grey gaze silently, methodically charts Pompey's preening strut and Caesar's cold, calculating guile for future reckoning, his dignity remaining utterly adamant amid the rising cachinnation. The patrons fall into terror-tacit silence, complicit witnesses to the triumvirate's shadowy nativity in garden shadows. The gauntlet of obscurity is thus publicly thrown down at the feet of the mere moneylender. Viperous envy now coils ever tighter with each passing month, and rising rumor, escalating inexorably to full fever pitch among Crassus's inner circle. False, whispered charges of hoarded Oriental laurels proliferate like weeds. Pompey accused of secreting vast Parthian spoils in his lavish Alban villas. Caesar rumored to funnel Gallic plunder gold into funding private legions beyond Senate oversight. Public spectacles transform routine forum processions into ritual degradations. Crassus's ornate lectica litter, mobbed by baying debtor plebs, pelting it with rotten ordure and market filth, his noble brow seared with a red-hot iron branding G for greedy, while he is mock-starved on deliberately befouled crusts in staged humiliation. Colosseum factions under his cohort's menace receive rival thumbs-down verdicts in gladiatorial bouts. Witnesses tremble in raw trepidation. Once loyal allies abjure under brutal coercion, with faces rigidly averted, even spouses publicly flagellated as living spectacle warnings to others. Kinfolk exiled to the brigand-infested wastes of Apulia. Temple sacrifices openly execrate Crassus as Fortuna fiend incarnate, deserving divine retribution. Yet Crassus endures vigilant as a hawk, mapping every triumvirate feint and countermove with resilient adamant spirit, keenly discerning Pompey's dangerous vacillations and Caesar's intricate intrigue forges laid in Senate shadows. The apex confrontation finally erupts on the sacred rostra itself. During the tense consular proceedings of 55 BC, a meticulously rigged tribunal pulsating with infernal stakes designed to forever deny Crassus the coveted Eastern Imperium command, threatening total obscurity, complete kin dispossession, and Fortuna's own souls perverted by twisted augury into eternal damnation. The ultimate ordeal demands he publicly decipher a deliberately sealed, arcane Parthian missive retrieved from the dustiest vaults of ancient Seleucid archives, falsely alleging that Crassus's vast, sprawling demesnes across Italy and Spain must legally revert to Parthian king Orodes II, per obscure Grecian commerce clauses, imposing an eternal barren conquest malediction on Roman expansion. The state augurs deliberately garble their divine interpretation to doom Crassus utterly. His ephemeral survival now hinges precariously on success before arena dawn execution. Should he fail, mercy reduced to a mere phantom whisper in the wind. Senators, equestrian knights, and seething plebs cram the overflowing galleries. Blaring trumpets herald the execution tempora. Irony, thick and choking, as the millionaire moneylender stands a judge in a shelter of his own making. Crassus advances slowly across the rostra platform, his toga dust-gaunt, but dignity diamond-sharp eyes resolute and unblinking. With flawless, immaculate Greek, honed from long study of Seleucid merchant papyri scrolls, he recites the missive, verbatim in adamant, susurrus tones that hush the crowd. "Lords of Rome," he proclaims, "this is mendacity uncoiling like a viper from the shadows." Invoking the Homeric Apollo Kappa right commerce legate lay conquest privileges, Crassus reveals his own patrician, Marius 87 BC provenance, as irrefutable counter. The Sibylline books pervert this quatrain mercatoribus, with ter testis triple attestation glaringly absent and utterly fabricated. Ouroboros of commerce engulfs its own tale in self-devouring contradiction. Gallery gasp erupts collective as augurs blanch pallid, fumbling scrolls in frantic disarray. Pompey furrow deepens on his consular brow. Merchant sapience, from whence this disgorged expectoration? He spits. Crassus stands intrepid, unflinching. Let the pyres consume those papyri if you dare, for lips once muted now herald verity with Aurora's light. Rostra thunder of disquiet rouses immediate uproar. Merchant ally Lucius risks pyre on gravel whisper of veridical Odyssey disputation from slave quarters overheard faithfully. Acolyte stands innoxious Sibyl Virgo, with ample innocent gaze wide. Senators Colosseum quake, as potency trembles on dam fracture brink. Crassus's own cohort vociferates pike dubiety, roar defiant. Rostra plunges into Tartarus, tacit aegis, under Crassus' dominion absolute. Augurs torch, umbra procession, paralyze utterly parchment frozen. Caesar's porphyry fist clenches in delirium dread web-spark ensnarement flickering. Lucius' sacrament, tremble, as forgery unmasks on command explicit. Abyss deepens to chthonic profundity swallowing light. Crassus unfurls from toga folds vellum charter aeon frayed, yet Augustus eagle SPQR laurel seal immaculate pristine gleaming. Toga rupture gasp collective rends air. Divi Augusti, sacred edict, 27 BC, proclaims grandsire, Actium Agrippa Maecenas, attested witness irrefutable. Merchant blood no mere chattel but equestrian Tiber sentinel lineage sworn. Pergamon, Epicurean, tutelage, Greek, Latin, Punic, Carrhae, Hannibal, siege captive, stratagem, master veteran, unyielding, conflagration verity pyre archive famine endure eternal. Senator frantic priest gawk in stunned taciturnity as revelation dawns. Caesar equestrian proscribe, Curia Senate augury, Avignon ire, crumble, condemn cascade. Populace billow injustice vain, imperial cognize prostrate, acclaim genuflect thunderous. Lucius fist lacrimal torrent. Power pulse inverts equilibrium seismic verity, anvil strike. Door spur thunder, papal legate arrival, revelation archive dawn bull-ridden fleet heralds. Nave profanity. Aegis boom resonant quake. Eye charter dawn, ooze glimmer hopeful. Elias cloister forfeit lost no more. Saint Mercy plague mourn collective lament. Legate bull swift scan hollow crozier pallor blanche melton utter. Law tithe theft. Lex true endure immutable sacred. Torah's be heresy thine own. Declared pontifical. Adamant murmur voice Elias twist plunge vertigo command. Legate additional query press. Agincourt 1415 Roman aqueduct secret siege. Crécy engine obsolete diagram rediscover.